Welcome to Speak for Yourself, Marcellus Wiley, Emmanuel Acho,
my brother,
in the building. All right, let's get to our top story. With David Culley, who was fired by the Texans yesterday after one season in Houston. This news followed Brian Flores being let go by the Dolphins earlier in the week. The coaching movement means Mike Tomlin is now the only black head coach in the NFL. So, Acho, should the league be concerned with having only one black head coach?
The league should absolutely be concerned, Sel. I got some chips here to make a very simple explanation and display as to why the league should be concerned with their issue at hand. So there are 70% players of color in the National Football League and 30% are white. So the chips I have here designate the 70 players of color. Those are the gray chips, and the 30% white. These would be the red chips. Now, what we're going to do is pour the chips into a bowl. We're going to pour the chips into this bowl, and we're going to mix this up. Why are we doing that? Because, Sel, there are 6 coaches in the NFL that used to play in the NFL. 6 coaches in the NFL that used to play in the NFL. Now, remember, 70% players of color, 30% white. 6 coaches in the NFL that used to play in the NFL. 5 of those coaches are white. What that means is I would have to draw, simply put, I would have to draw 2 gray chips before drawing a red chip to show you how wildly statistically improbable it is that 5 of the 6 coaches that played in the NFL are white when 70% of the players in the NFL are black. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just see the likelihood of this actually happening and this actually occurring. Again, as long as I draw 2 gray chips, then what the NFL is doing is statistically improbable. So we draw a chip without looking here. They kind of stuck together. Great chip.
Okay.
Put it back to make sure we keep the 70 to 30 odds.
He got fired already?
I hate you so much.
Oh.
Put it back. Let's see. Great chip. With that being said, what the NFL has done is statistically impossible at best and statistically improbable at worst. Very simply, breaking down again what we just witnessed is if 70% of the players are black and 30% of the players are white, but of the coaches that used to play in the NFL, 83% are white. That's 5 out of 6. 83% are white. There is clearly a disconnect between what has occurred with 70% of the players being black. However, only 17% of the coaches that used to play are black. Somebody has to make that make sense because statistically, it makes no sense. So my problem, Sel, is there's clearly a rift. What is the rift? There is clearly some sort of unequal, inequitable. There's some sort of disconnect between the players being predominantly people of color and the coaches not being people of color and not being black. I wanted to first break down that just statistical improbability, and then we can dive into the why. But I can't wait to hear what you have to say, big dog.
Ooh, my goodness. On the surface, should the league be concerned? I would ultimately say no. However, in getting to that conclusion, you need to be concerned if you're NFL, if your participants, if your coaches, if your fans are concerned. And it seems like it's grown to a place of conversation where the first thing that happens when a black coach is fired is a national conversation. So therefore, that forces the NFL to be concerned. Let's talk about why they shouldn't be concerned in the first place. We got to talk about this process and be truthful about it. Demonstrations aside, which was something that really brought it home in terms of the portrayal when you could see it with that demonstration. Most coaches are hired to bad situations. Good coach, bad situation,
yes,
right?
Sir.
The only common denominator in all these situations typically is a bad situation.
Yes, sir.
Why? Because that's the only reason it's available in the first place, right? There's something going wrong typically in these situations. So, since good coaches and great coaches, no matter if you're black or white, go to bad situations, typically you fail, right? Let's just be real about that. That's how the vicious cycle continues. Now, what you're showing and illustrating, what I want people to understand is, what are we drawing from in terms of our pool of applicants? Is our pool of applicants based on former players? Is our pool of applicants based on guys who just love the game and just started their coaching process early? Is our pool of applicants just the U.S. population at large? Mm-hmm. Because when you hear an argument, well, hey, man, 13% of this country is black, but 59% of the league is black, 70% of color, but then there's only one black head coach today. What's up with that? And then there's a counter argument, too, when you can hear that 80% of this country is white and only 25% of its players are white. But then there are 70% of the coaches, if not more, that are white. So as you can see, none of this logic is linear. None of this logic is congruent, right? It's inconsistencies all around. I just wanted to point that out to highlight before I start diving a little bit deeper. There's a responsibility that comes with power. A long time ago, my dad used to always say, the grown own. Now, we understand that we don't have ownership as a black player. Former black players, we're broadcasters. We don't have ownership. No black majority owner in the NFL, correct? But the grown own. So what comes with that ownership is a responsibility. And that responsibility has two sides of the coin. The responsibility that is properly and responsibly chooses who their coaches are of their franchises. And there's also a responsibility on the flip side if you don't own to be chosen. There's a responsibility, as Kobe Bryant once said, to be undeniable. Kobe Bryant talked about his first 2 years in the league. He said, I didn't even get off the bench. You know, I was coming back and forth. I wasn't a starter. I wasn't Kobe Bryant. He said, but I became undeniable. You had to put me in there. I want both sides to understand there's a responsibility with ownership to choose properly and responsibly, but also to be undeniable if you're trying to be chosen. All that said, man, let's talk about this. Because there's some data out there that supports, I don't know what to do with this. This is such a complex question that we're trying to come up with simple answers. Do you know that the data shows that minority head coaches have been given second opportunities at a higher rate than white coaches? Make that make sense. I'll just pause right now. Y'all keep, everybody saying, no black coaches. Okay, but they give black coaches another chance at it than they do more so than white coaches. Ask Tony Dungy. Multiple jobs. Dennis Green, Lovie Smith, Jim Caldwell, Herm Edwards, Romeo Crennel, Hugh Jackson, Ray Rhodes, Art Shell. Multiple opportunities. Then we start to say, well, they're not just giving us the opportunity in the same breath. Well, there have been 140 coaching opportunities since 2000. 24 have went to black head coaches. People will look at those numbers and say, oh, that's pretty low. Actually, it's 27. 19%. Where do you get to 19%? Where does that fall? Does that fall under the threshold of current players, or does that fall higher than the threshold of black people in America? So all I'm saying is this is a very complicated answer, and it's a very complex question. But to just simply say that there's a growing issue in the NFL when the data doesn't support that is where I pause.
I think it depends on where you look for your data.
Exactly.
Right? And I think it depends on where you look for your data.
Why do we look for our data in former players?
The reason, and you don't have to.
Okay, we started there.
For me, former players is a microcosm of a macro issue.
Okay, let's go.
The reason why I can look for my data in former players is because that is where everything is now isolated. When you talk about the population of our country is 13% black, that also includes women. But there are no women in the NFL, nor are there women that are NFL head coaches. So
greater to my point.
Instantly, the data of the entire population of the world or America is diluting the data of the NFL. Mm-hmm. So if we talk about data that is concentrated, non-dilute at all, and we simply look at players in the National Football League, coaches in the National Football League. The players in the National Football League, 70% people of color. But the coaches that used to play in the National Football League are 17% people of color. That is now we're looking at specifically concentrated data. But for me, the larger issue is diversity breeds excellence. That is why the NFL should care. Not because, we got to get more black people need jobs. No, because the NFL is undermining its own product by not having a diverse coaching staff and coaching pool. What do I mean? 2003, the NFL, it initiated the Rooney Rule. You had to interview a person of color if there's a head coaching vacancy. By 2004, Lovie Smith was hired to coach the Chicago Bears. Mm-hmm. By 2007, for the first time in NFL history, in 42 years, there was a Super Bowl with 2 black head coaches. Statistically, there was less than a 4% chance that would happen. What does that mean? That the game was elevated by the initiation of diversity based upon the Rooney Rule. If teams cannot look out for themselves and do what's in the best interest of the team and thus in the best interest of the game, then the NFL should look out for teams. And we do this in all of football. In college football, if there is a targeting penalty, a defensive player will be thrown out for the rest of that game. Why? Because they are looking out for the best interest of the defensive player. If the defensive player lowers his head, you are being punished not because of what you did to the offensive player. You're being punished because you were doing something to the detriment of yourself.
Gotcha.
If the Miami Dolphins are firing a black coach like Brian Flores, you are doing something to the detriment of yourself because Brian Flores is the best head coach that you, the Miami Dolphins, have had in the last 20 years. And Miami Dolphins, if you are acting in the detriment of the Miami Dolphins, and you are also acting to the detriment of the National Football League, because the better the Dolphins do, the better the product of the National Football League. So in football, we always make sure we put precautions in place to not damage an individual nor damage the individual's product. So why would we not do that for the game of football? You're exactly right when you say it depends on where you look for your data, but some data can be erroneous. And so where I really am looking at my data is within the constitute of the NFL. Let me break it down one more step, and then I'm done with this lap.
Yeah.
In the NBA, you see roughly the same disparity between players. 83% of the NBA players are black, 17% of the NBA players are white. However, of the 12 NBA coaches that used to play in the NBA, 8 are black and 4 are white. So you don't see that same disparity because in the NBA, 2 out of every 3 coaches that used to play are black. But in the NFL, 1 out of every 6 coaches that used to play are black. So there's a disparity in the NFL that does not exist within the NBA. So we can still adhere to your worldly statistics of the lack of black people in the country. But in the NBA, there's clearly more promotion of diversity as it pertains to coaching than there is in the NFL. So that still leads me to some sort of problem that I'm trying to figure out why it exists.
Well, look, we ain't gonna have enough time for me to answer why it exists. I'm just gonna give you my 2 cents, and hopefully it adds up to $1. Damn it. Let's talk here. Is diversity unilateral? Is diversity two-way street, or is diversity just one way? Because if you say, okay, we're the black head coaches, then somebody gonna say, we're the white players. And this is the most gangster conversation you could ever have. Because it only goes 2 ways when you answer that question. And no one wants to have that ultimate conversation as a national conversation. Because if you say we're the black head coaches and someone says, well, we're the white players, this is what you could get. Here's the softball answer. Well, without bias, that's just the way it is. Now, you want to hear the group text answer? Maybe they ain't good enough. Now, that's a conversation that I've heard go one way, but I ain't heard it go the other way. In terms of why did we hit here in terms of reality? Look at the black coaches and look at the white coaches. They get fired, brother, no matter who you are, because you're going to bad situations. Let's talk about that. I have a placard in my home, in my studio, that reads, life is a game, but football is serious. I changed the word football to let people know that life is a game, but marriage is serious. Life is a game, but parenting is serious. Life is a game, but broadcasting is serious. What you're doing is serious, but you got to always keep perspective of this is a game to be played. And there's a game within the game that you must also play. Why do I bring that up to start this second lap? Is because if you're playing the game, you got to understand 2 things. It will create winners and it will create losers.
Yes, sir.
And rarely, if ever, you're going to see a tie. So when we say equality, when we say diversity, it seems like we're always trying to imply a tie. Like, keep it uniform, keep it balanced. But where is it balanced anywhere in this world? Including in minority coaching hiring, including on the field with the actual players as participants. There is no equality. That needs to be dispelled. That said, let's talk about where we are right now, because when the Rooney Rule was instituted, we're in the same place as we were as when it was instituted. Today as yesterday. And to me, there's a parallel, loose parallel, between the black quarterback and the black head coach. Let's talk about the black quarterback. Remember, there was a day, where are the black quarterbacks at? Where are the black quarterbacks at? Well, they got a late start, and we all know our country's history, et cetera, and the biases. But the black quarterback all of a sudden became now, if you look at quarterbacks, we have 15 quarterbacks make multiple starts last year, and that's not even including Deshaun Watson, of 32 teams. So think about it. When you talk about it now, versus then, 2000. We had the same about a number, basically. 12 quarterbacks, now we're at 15. But that conversation, you want to go before then, one, two. To the tune of now, we saw a black quarterback not only get $100 million, but get two $100 million contracts, the first one. All I'm trying to say is the conversation about the black quarterback evolved. The conversation about the black head coach will evolve as well. However, a late starting point has to be factored in.
So I love some of the points you're bringing up because we hear them a lot in life. We hear them a lot on social media. Let me first address the black quarterback, especially as it pertains to the coaches, something that was illuminated to me. I think what so many people try to do is confuse excellence with equality. And we can never make that mistake of confusing excellence with equality. One black head coach currently in the National Football League, that one black head coach is Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin is utterly and unquestionably excellent. Mike Tomlin is the only head coach in the history of the NFL to start his career with 15 consecutive non-losing seasons. This includes the great coaches like Bill Belichick. Mike Tomlin is the only one to start his career with 15 consecutive non-losing seasons. Mike Tomlin is excellent. So we can't use the likes of Mike Tomlin, who's excellent, to try to point to some sort of beacon or landmark of equality. Because what so many people try to do is say that, well, look at Deshaun Watson, look at Patrick Mahomes, look at Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott. And we start to confuse these quarterbacks, one of which was a unanimous MVP, Lamar Jackson, excellent. The other of which, Patrick Mahomes, the greatest quarterback ever through the age of 25, already a first ballot Hall of Famer, excellent. And we try to look at these quarterbacks that are excellent and try to use them to act as though excellent also equals equality, and that's just not the case. So when I look at the excellence versus equality point, I have to bring that up. The second point, and again, I'm going to try to do this on the fly. You brought me to a place that I hadn't yet prepared for. There is that very uncomfortable conversation of, well, there aren't a lot of black head coaches, but there aren't a lot of black players. White players. So let me preface to make this clean. There aren't a lot
way to give equality. They're all the same to you.
There aren't a lot of black coaches, but there aren't a lot of white players. So there aren't a lot of white running backs, Acho. Aren't a lot of white cornerbacks. We hear that argument so often. So what would you say is the predominant characteristic a head coach needs? Is it a mental attribute, a physical attribute?
Mental attribute.
At least probably 90 mental if you're a coach, maybe 10% physical. I don't really know necessarily what a coach would need physical attributes for. Players. Physical attribute, mental attribute. Physical. Players, dominant attributes necessary of the physical. If you're just talking about what coaches versus players need, and I read this book called Sports Gene, written by David Epstein, an investigative reporter. It talks about how, on average, the white NBA player is 6'9", and the black NBA player is 6'7". However, on average, the black NBA player can touch higher than the white NBA player based upon his limb length. So maybe it's not that white men can't jump, it's that white men can't reach. It talked about how that there's a proportionate difference between, on average, what black people physically, their traits, and white people's physical traits. For example, slow twitch muscle fibers versus fast twitch muscle fibers. You know all too well about that with your track background. Slow twitch muscle fibers, they don't fatigue as quickly, but they can go for greater lengths. Fast twitch muscle fibers fatigue more quickly, but they can go at faster lengths. That is why you see great sprinters like Usain Bolt maybe will fatigue sooner because he has a higher number of fast twitch muscle fibers based upon a genetic predisposition. It also talks about how if you're just looking at a model and you remove race from the model, how the center of gravity for a black individual is 3% higher than the center of gravity for a white individual. There's a 3% difference there. Just talking about in a model, that 3% center of gravity difference helps a person move swifter through water than it does on land. So when you look at a Michael Phelps who moves swifter through water, then you look at a Michael Jordan who moves swifter on land. So for those that want to instantly throw back, well, there aren't a lot of white cornerbacks and there aren't a lot of white running backs and there aren't a lot of white this and that, understand the difference. Why do you see more white offensive linemen and you see more black wide receivers? You have to look into slow twitch muscle fibers versus fast twitch muscle fibers. You have to look in genetic predispositions. But when talking about coaches, we're not talking about genetic predispositions unless we're talking about intelligence.
Well, it's not just intelligence, it's mental attributes. Now you're getting into the deep, choppy waters where I live. Where I
live there?
Man.
It's dangerous, big dog.
No, it ain't if you're sophisticated. No, it's not. Look, I grew up in danger. I survived snowfall, the real snowfall. How the hell you going to tell me about danger? Here's the thing. And then I got some backlash about this, but I stand strong in what my beliefs are. We all day long want to talk about how someone's physical attributes are, whether you're fat, whether you're out of shape, whether you're slow. We want to talk about physical attributes all day in generalizations, right? And I hate to generalize. I say in general, don't generalize. That's what I always tell people. But we like to do that all day. Physically, you could do that all day. Talk about how someone look, et cetera, right? And you can even sum that up and say you're physically weak. Let's talk about that in the same respect mentally. Gets quiet. People don't want to talk. You can talk about mental attributes the same way you can talk about physical attributes. Do you go to the mental gym? Do you read? Do you meditate? Do you take care of yourself? You listening to the right things? You tuning into the right things? You can sum someone up as mentally weak. How dare you call them that? But you can call them that physically. Why do I bring that up? Because it highlights what you just said. We're talking about what is a coach. And it's so vague and it's so dangerous to go there that most people don't. So then all of a sudden you don't do the truest of knowledge and experience in terms of knowing who you're hiring. Let me give it to you like this. Since you play it, don't mean you could coach it. You started off with an applicant of people who played. Since you play it, don't mean you could coach it. You know what playing means? That I know how to get it done. Yep. You know what coaching means? I know how to make you get it done.
Yes, sir.
It's a big difference. And that doesn't go by racial lines. But since we don't have that conversation, we got to generalize. The greatest coaches ever never played pro football. So let's not use like there's some kind of congruency. There's some kind of relationship between playing and actually being Bill Belichick. Played in college, played in high school. He didn't play at the pro level. I say all of that to say this. The reward systems, the incentives that shape behavior, the reward systems are different in the same sport for different participants. Let's go to college. If you're a college coach, Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, you get rewarded differently than if you're a pro coach. Think about it. When Bill Belichick wins a Super Bowl, they give him the worst pick of the draft. When Kirby Smart and Nick Saban win a championship, you know what they get? The best 5 stars available. Reward system, same sport, different, even though they're on different levels. You know what the NFL is different than the college coaching? The NFL will go to you and say, hey, I know you've never coached before at this level. I know you've never done this job before, but hey, here's the worst situation because that's the only reason that it's available. And you've never done it before. Now go out there and get it done. Black or white, the failure rate is high to the tune of every single year. In the last 5 seasons, we've had 7 coaches fired. That's the average every year. I hate that we have to draw this by racial lines. Because if we're going to draw by racial lines, all I'm saying is keep the pen out. Let's keep drawing. Because then you look on the field, that's not equality. You look on the sidelines, that's not equality. You look upstairs, that's not equality. So where do we ever draw from equality to now make this an equality conversation?
Great. At the point in which you look around and you say, that's not equality, that's not equality, that's not equality, shouldn't you also look around and say, let me try to fight for equality, let me try to fight for equality, let me try to fight for equality?
It's never going to happen.
Sure, but just because it's not going to happen doesn't mean you shouldn't try to make it happen as close as possible.
Well, I think it's not even a desirable outcome because don't you want to win? Well, guess what? Every time you outcho us up, somebody down. And you don't want to talk about that down like you don't want to talk about mental attributes. We don't want to talk about the consequences of our success. But it comes at a price.
Correct. But in this price, the people or the grouping that is down are persons of color and the grouping that is up are white people or non-people of color.
Wait a minute, though.
We're talking about a racial disparity in coaching.
No, you're right. I'm just telling you, let's go back to our days. Would you rather been a coach or a player?
Player? I don't know.
Boy, but player, ain't no thoughts. Player. Coaching is a secondary. That's when you know, I ain't making it this 40 time a little slow. I don't have the reach, et cetera. Most of the league is what?
Black.
Yeah. So the primary goal, the primary entity, the primary attribute of this great NFL that has taken over multiple days of the week, that took the Sunday from the church, that is the biggest sport in our country. And the number one thing that they're promoting is the player. And the number one thing that everyone strives to be is that player. And the number one thing that we have actually attained as people of color is being those players. But then we want to take it to the next level, which is secondary, being a coach. And now I want to say, where's the equality? Don't you know that there's a counter argument to that as well?
But it's not secondary at this junction in time. Now we've realized more with illumination that, in all honesty, first off, being a coach is just better than being a player. Your salary is guaranteed. You don't have to get hit. You ain't got to do nothing. But more importantly, being an owner, which is the next conversation.
Hello.
And that got to be
the grown own. So all we know is there needs to be more Christian McCaffreys and more Mike Tomlins. Coming up, Matthew Stafford's resume is already established, according to Sean McVay. Tell you if we agree. But first, Dak Prescott says he's tuning out the doubters. Okay. We'll tell you if he'll prove them wrong against the Niners on Sunday. Next on Speak for Yourself. You got some more chips?
Cowboys host the Niners in a wild card matchup on Sunday. Now, Dak Prescott was asked about his belief that the Niners are not a good matchup for them and said, quote, "We don't care what people believe about us outside the walls, whether they think it's good or not."
Outside the walls.
Dak Prescott talking that talk.
Outside the wall, corrupt up here.
Time for you to talk that talk. Will Dak Prescott prove the doubters wrong Sunday?
Absolutely, as I look at one of them. Yes, you will be proved wrong on Sunday. Oh, Dak, go get my boy Acho. But save me some of them. I love them. I need them on Monday. Dak Prescott will prove the doubters wrong because the doubters are wrong about Dak Prescott. Let's just start there. Y'all don't give him his proper amount of credit, his proper amount of due. Only 3 quarterbacks have more wins than Dak Prescott since he's entered the league. You want to hear those names?
Yes, sir.
Let's go. Tom Brady, GOAT. How does a GOAT sound? I don't know. I got a lot of kids. I should know this. Okay. Aaron Rodgers, who most people say has GOAT potential. And then Russell Wilson, the champion he is. Oh, my goodness. Dak Prescott sits right behind them. So I don't hear a lot of people talking about Dak Prescott in such glowing fashion, even though that's the most important statistic. Are you out there winning? Now, let's talk about Dak Prescott in the playoffs because people say he's not out there winning. He's won, but he's out there losing. Oh, really? In his first ever playoff game against Aaron Rodgers, when he throws more touchdowns than Aaron Rodgers, when he has a better game in passer rating than Aaron Rodgers, when his defense gives up the most points they gave up the entire season, 34 to Aaron Rodgers, that's on Dak Prescott? Once again, my man can't get his proper amount of credit. Then he goes out there and wins a game against the Super Bowl champion in Russell Wilson and the Seattle Seahawks. You say that's not a signature moment for Dak Prescott. Once again, he doesn't get his credit, doesn't get his proper amount of due. And then Dak Prescott, he faces those Rams. Remember he faced the Rams? And Dak Prescott had a good game, whatever you want to call it. I don't even care about Dak Prescott because I was like, where is Ezekiel Elliott? Oh, Ezekiel Elliott on his decline pretty early at this time. 20 carries, 47 yards. But it's all about Dak. It should be all about Dak when we talk about winning. It should be all about Dak when it comes about him in the playoffs, having good performances, good enough to win playoff games. But what we do is take the credit away from Dak Prescott or not give it to him at all. Dak Prescott will prove the doubters wrong because you doubters out there like Acho have never got it right about that.
Here's the thing, Sal.
Don't do this.
You said something, and I love what you said, so I'm going to hang on to it. The most important stat is you out there winning. That's the question. So for Dak to prove the doubters wrong, Dak would have to win the game.
There it is.
But the likelihood that Dak wins the game is very unlikely. Yeah. I love, Sal, when I don't have to come up here and try to formulate an incredibly complicated and complex opinion. I love when I can just come out here and look at some data and say, oh, you know what, Marcellus? I don't care what you have to say because I don't care what I have to say because the numbers speak so loud it don't matter what we're talking about. Now,
look at this.
The numbers of Dak Prescott, the numbers of the Cowboys tell us that Dak Prescott's going to lose. And if Dak Prescott loses and the Cowboy loses, it doesn't matter how he plays. Sal makes a phenomenal point. Cowboys fans, if y'all remember, 2016, Dak Prescott played as well as Aaron Rodgers, or you could argue he outplayed Aaron Rodgers. He had more passing touchdowns, same amount of interceptions, higher passer rating, and nearly identical amount of statistics, but the Cowboys lost. So we don't talk about how great Dak Prescott is. If the Cowboys lose to the Niners, it doesn't matter how well Dak Prescott plays. And there's an 80% chance the Cowboys are going to lose to the Niners. Why? Because in the Cowboys' wins this season, they were playing teams in the bottom half of the league defensively. So 10 of the 12 games that the Cowboys won were against bottom defenses. That's 83%. 83% of the time the Cowboys play a bottom defense, they win. Woo! But what happens when they play a top 11 defense? Oof. 4 out of 5 times they lose. They lost to the Broncos. They lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Chiefs. They lost to the Cardinals. So 80% of the time they play a bottom defense, they win. 80% of the time they play a top defense, they lose. So the only question now is, well, where do the Niners rank? And I can tell you with 80% certainty what the Cowboys game is going to be. Marcellus Wiley. The Niners are a top 10 scoring defense. Cowboys lose 80% of the time to top 10 scoring defenses. Cowboys win 80% of the time against bottom 15 scoring defenses. The proof is not in my words, and it's not in your words. The proof is in the data of the season. So it doesn't really matter how well Dak Prescott plays, unfortunately, and it's not fair to Dak Prescott. But if the Cowboys lose, then Dak Prescott can prove nobody wrong, and it's clear statistically that it's more than likely the Cowboys will lose.
Oh, my goodness. Come on over here. Woo! Got me a little shook. So let me just, let me recalibrate. Pull up. Let me get this plane flat again, man. Oh, man, you think the Cowboys really going to lose, huh?
That's what data says.
That's what the data says?
And that's what I believe.
Oh, okay.
So now data and my belief.
Man,
not looking good for you.
Yeah, that's some mama's cooking there, huh? Right there. Oh, okay. What's up, Kwame? Here we go. You know what the data said about me growing up? I was going to lose. And you know what? Some people believed it. I'm out here winning. You out here winning, too. Ain't no data ever got on the field. You ever heard the official go, 12 men on the field? Data. Gotta go. Data got nothing to do with this. Nada about your data. Let's talk about the data that supports you, if anything. This is what we do on any team. And I know you've told us before about coaches that have come in and try to give you that rah-rah speech, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But when it works, it's because they make you believe in yourself. And the Cowboys right now, all they got to do to go out there and prove doubters wrong is just believe in themselves and stick to the script. Number one scoring offense, number one total offense, take the ball away, number one. That's all you got to do. That is the NFL. Score more points than anyone, Cowboys have, and take the ball away from your opponent, Cowboys have. What else is there to do? Oh, the data. The beliefs of others. That ain't it. If you're Dak Prescott right now, this is what you need to believe in. I am 28 years young. Goodness, remember when you were 28? Neither one of us was winning like Dak. Let's just say that. You catching up right now, but not at 28, big dog. And you know who else wasn't there at 28? Oh, you know who else wasn't there in their 7th season or later? Peyton Manning. When did he win the Super Bowl? Older than Dak. What about Drew Brees?
Where are you going right now, Sal? What point are you making?
I'm just telling you that greatness sometimes takes a minute, takes an hour.
But what about this Sunday? He ain't got a minute or an hour.
He got a bunch of minutes and hours before this. He got 40. He got time.
The first 48.
John Elway. You can see, this is the thing. If you're not Dak Prescott, you're not a Dallas Cowboy, you're going to sit there with all of this data to say you guys are going to lose to a team that what? That is not better than us? Why should we lose to a team that's not better than us? Because we played sorrier teams than they have. How is that going to matter when they got to go against us? They're the number one team on offense because of totality, because of what they did over a 17-week season. You can't do that to them now and say, well, based on who you played, that's not good enough. Because when you get on the field, you're not going to see data. You're going to see the 49ers. And the 49ers are going to see the Cowboys number one.
You're exactly right. But the 49ers and their players are what comprises the data that we look at. Fred Warner, Bosa. Like, that's what comprises that stringent defense of the Cowboys that have to see.
Trevor Diggs.
Oh, we like them.
Oh, you like Jimmy G or Dak?
Dak.
Dallas offense or San Francisco? Thank you. Dallas defense or San Francisco?
San Francisco.
Me too. But opportunistic over there.
Correct. But here's the kicker. You can only be opportunistic if you're given an opportunity. And I'm not convinced that the Niners are going to give these Cowboys an opportunity. So how can they be so opportunistic? Trayvon Diggs, if he doesn't get picks, he's the worst cover cornerback in the league. So he's contingent.
What a if. Picks. First team All-Pro just named today, him and Michael Parsons. How many on the 49ers? 0. And you're going to say if he doesn't get picks. He does get picks.
Because here's what makes Trayvon Diggs so great. And again, I would take Trayvon Diggs. My dog Darius Slay was tweeting Eagles cornerback, top flight Eagles cornerback. He got 1 first team All-Pro vote. Darius Slay got 3 picks on the season, and he got 3 touchdowns.
3 touchdowns.
I'm driving in my car, and I'm thinking, like, man, should he have gotten All-Pro vote? And I was like, any cornerback would rather 11 interceptions than being the best lockdown cornerback, which Darius Slay is. Any defensive coordinator would probably rather the 11 interceptions and give up the most yards than be a lockdown cornerback. So Trayvon Diggs got his because of all his interceptions. But if he does not get an interception on Sunday, then all of a sudden, Sal, he's not an additive to the defense. You know this. If he ain't getting picks, he's getting beat. If he ain't getting beat, he's getting picks. So Cowboys better hope he get them picks, big dog. I want Trayvon Diggs on my team, but I'm not ignorant to the detriment he can be to the defense. So you know Jimmy G ain't just throwing them joints up. Jimmy G throwing now passes and making you make tackles. All I'm saying is this, and I didn't mean to pivot from Dak to Diggs, but I will say if the Cowboys don't win the game, Dak Prescott is proving nobody wrong, and I don't see how the Cowboys win this game.
Boy, I hope you don't have shorts on under that, diving in the weeds like that. You ever get those scratches? You're just being in the weeds like that. Talk about Trayvon Diggs, he'll get picks of that. And Jimmy G doesn't throw picks. Do 12 of them this year. That's up there. Jimmy G will give you the ball, and Trayvon Diggs is like, I'll take it to the house. Coming up, Sean McVay thinks Matthew Stafford's resume is already established before Monday night's wild card game. Interesting. Tell you if we agree. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. Sunday on Fox, Jalen Hurts and the Eagles look to dethrone the reigning champs as they take on the GOAT, Tom Brady and the Bucks. All kicks off at 1 Eastern. Pre-game coverage starting at 11 a.m. only on Fox. All part of Super Wild Card Weekend. Matthew Stafford try to get his first win in the playoffs when the Rams host the Cardinals Monday night. Stafford was the Rams' big offseason move, but their quarterback is 0-3 in the postseason. Sean McVay still has his quarterback's back. Take a listen.
Do you think he needs to prove he can win a playoff game?
No, I think that he's got an established resume. I think that's something you want to be able to do. He was instrumental in leading us to our first division title that we've had since 18. And that's a big deal, but now it's the next step. But I think his body of work speaks for itself, and I don't think you can just confine it into, he hasn't won a playoff game.
Cho, you agree with Sean McVay that Matthew Stafford's resume is already established?
No, not at all. And Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay would be lying to themselves. Now, is it established for being an NFL player? Absolutely. Right? 4 years is the 3 years and 3 games is the National Football League minimum. That's the average NFL length is 3 years. Is Matthew Stafford established for an NFL player? Duh. Is Matthew Stafford established for an NFL quarterback? Duh. Is Matthew Stafford established for a number 1 overall pick? That's where it starts to get a little bit dicey. Is Matthew Stafford established for a Hall of Famer? That's where you got to go absolutely not. So Matthew Stafford is established as it pertains to being an NFL player. Yeah, but I was established being an NFL player. I played my 4 years.
Get yours.
I got my pension. I got my annuity.
More money.
Invested.
More money.
But Matthew Stafford is way better than I. He's better than you, probably.
Chill.
I mean, barely.
Now, he got me by a lot. I don't like hearing it.
So Matthew Stafford is established based upon the minimum requirements of being established. With Matthew Stafford, your talent makes you great.
Burger.
So for me, it comes down to this. Matthew Stafford, do you want to be Peyton Manning or do you want to be Archie Manning?
Ooh.
That's what it comes down to. Remember, Archie Manning, he played 100 games but had a losing record. Peyton Manning got 2 Super Bowls and multiple MVPs. Peyton Manning, surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. How do you, Matthew Stafford, want to go down? As Peyton or do you want to go down as Archie? That's what Matthew Stafford has to figure out. Because when I think about these former number 1 overall picks that never won a playoff game, think about Jamarcus Russell. Think about David Carr. You think about Jameis Winston. You think about Sam Bradford. But then the number 1 overall picks that have Cam Newton, Peyton, Eli, even Baker has won a playoff game as a number 1 overall pick. Obviously, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, they just got drafted. We'll see what they got cooking for us this weekend. So Matthew Stafford's not established, not as it pertains to how good he is. Matthew Stafford's so much better than me that his ceiling is so much greater than mine. If you're talking about my little basic requirements of being established, sure. But Matthew Stafford, you were the number 1 player coming out of Highland Park High School. Then you were the number 1 player coming out of the University of Georgia. And you have arguably the number 1 arm talent the game of football has ever seen. So you are not established based upon how talented you are. You got to go out there and win some playoff games.
Yeah, I'm with you. I disagree with you, Sean McVay. The genius. I hate to do it, but I got to disagree with you. The thing I hate the most in this world is something that hates me, someone who hates me, anything that comes back at me. That's what I would hate the most. Now, thankfully, I don't know too many people or things that hate me. I don't count social media. So, you know what? Most things in my life, pretty smooth. However, right by I hate those things, are the people who try to help you but end up hurting you. I hate when people do that. I'm like, dog, I'll do it by myself. I could do it on my lonely. I could do it all dolo versus you trying to help and you actually come back to hurt me. That's how these comments felt. Like, you're trying to help them out by saying something like this, a little wordplay, and you actually hurt them because now you're highlighting that you don't even mean what you're saying if you're Sean McVay. You better hope that he's not established right now. And I looked up the definition of established, and it says something about you're set up on a permanent basis. So, wait a minute. Who Matthew Stafford is, if that's permanent, does that include that 0-3? Does that include that permanent, he gives the ball away more than he scores in the playoffs? Permanent basis, that means, okay, Sean McVay, you're so smart. Let's keep it simple, stupid. If he lives up to that resume that's established, are you happy? If he just goes out there and be Matthew Stafford, Detroit, Matthew Stafford here, are you happy? No, no, no. You talk about he's not established compared to Peyton Manning. He's not established compared to Jared Goff. And he is where Jared Goff used to throw his dirty laundry away. Hey, Jared Goff, Jared Goff ain't got the gangster I got. And I don't have the game he has, so that's why we both on this side. But let me do the Jared Goff I would do. You a number one pick, Matthew Stafford? Me too. You been to Super Bowl yet? Oh, no. You got paid? Me too. You won a playoff game? Oh, I did. Come on, man. Where you at? Jared Goff got Matthew Stafford right now, except Matthew Stafford, most passing yards in NFL history without a playoff win. Like, you got to start to look at these things and break them down for what they are. I ain't taking care of you because football hurts. So guess what? Mentally, I'm going to let you know what the real is. John Wolford has a playoff win and a playoff game win with the Rams. John Wolford. And you talk about it's established that who Matthew Stafford is good enough. Don't do that. Don't imply that. I understand that you shouldn't out him out in front of us in the media and in public, but don't act like this is good enough. Don't act like what he established is good enough. Be real and incentivize him.
And the biggest thing for me, Sel, is you always have to keep the bar parallel to the person's talent. So, Matthew Stafford, your talent is so great, that bar has to be high. If you were an undrafted pick, if you were an undrafted player, then that bar can be lower. But the bar got to be parallel to your talent, big dog. Think about Dak Prescott coming in. The thing that made Dak Prescott so great in perception, if not reality, was that his bar was that of a fourth-round pick.
Okay.
You were a fourth-round pick out of Mississippi State. You weren't number one overall that year like Jared Goff. You weren't number two overall that year like Carson Wentz. You were fourth-rounder. So Dak was always exceeding his bar. Jared Goff met his bar. He went to a Super Bowl as number one overall pick. Impressive. Carson Wentz led his team to the playoff. Nick Foles got his team to a Super Bowl as a number two overall pick. So the Rams are relatively happy they got to a Super Bowl with Goff, and the Eagles are ecstatic. With Carson Wentz on their roster, they won a Super Bowl. But Matthew Stafford is a number one overall pick. What you done, big dog?
I'm here.
You think about Baker Mayfield went to a worse organization than Matthew Stafford did when Baker went to the Browns and Matthew Stafford went to the Lions. The Browns won one game in 32 years. One game out of 32 games, No NFL organization, no NFL team has won one game out of 32 over that 2-year stretch.
No.
Baker Mayfield went to the Browns, did that, and he's won a playoff game. But Stafford has not. I refuse to lower the bar for Matthew Stafford because I know Matthew Stafford's talent is capable of him exceeding the bar. Now he has to go out there and do it. By saying he's already a made man, Sean McVay is lowering the bar and giving Matthew Stafford a pillow and a comfortable mattress to lie on. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that either. And I don't think that, look, giving Sean McVay some credit, I think that sometimes you say things in the moment that you would say differently retroactively. So in the moment, you're not trying to hang them out to dry, so therefore it's all full motivation and positivity, right? But retroactively, you can look at it a different way. You can start to have a balanced response to it. Look, he says it, I don't want to confine it into Matthew Stafford hasn't won a playoff game, therefore. He's like, Matthew Stafford's done great things, and I agree with him. But at the same time, in this moment, we can't have the same Matthew Stafford that has lost 3 playoff games be the quarterback of these Rams who have aspirations of not just making it to the Super Bowl, Jared Goff, but actually winning the Super Bowl, Matthew Stafford. It's like in life, sometimes you meet someone and you know that they've had a checkered past. And whatever it is, it led them to you and you're led to them. And you're like, it's okay to be happy with the resume you have. Like accept it, like acceptance. But then at the same time, in the same breath, you say, I want a little more out of you, big dog. I wish Sean McVay, the genius, and I know he can play with his words and be craftier than this, would have gotten us to a place where not only is Matthew Stafford still expecting to do more, but even Sean McVay and the Rams expect the same. Coming up, Bills or Patriots, Niners or Cowboys. Wild Card Weekend starts tomorrow, and our predictions for each game are next on Speak for Yourself. Welcome back to Speak for Yourself. Damn, coming in hot. What's wrong with you?
I've not had it.
Boy,
on camera throwing.
Boy, you look, you play linebacker, not D-line. That would have hit you. Oh, let's welcome back. Wild Card Weekend kicks off in just about 24 hours, so it's prediction time. Acho, get us started. Who you going with in the first matchup tomorrow? Raiders or Bengals?
I'm going with the Raiders.
Are you serious? No, let's do this over. Are you serious?
What? Joe Burrow a beast, Joe Burrow a dog. I think Joe Burrow will ball. I think Derek Carr will ball.
I'm listening.
But at the end of the day, Derek Carr has overcome more this season than anybody in the National Football League. He's overcome a racist, misogynistic, sexist head coach. He's overcome Henry Ruggs, his first round wide receiver, all that drama. You know what that's like, Stel. You go into a team meeting room, your head coach isn't there. You go into a team meeting room, your dog Henry Ruggs not only is not there, he's dealing with the legal system and lives have been lost. So Derek Carr's overcome so much off the field, I believe he can overcome the Bengals on.
Oh, man. You can't prepare for that. I don't believe you. I'm going with the Bengals right here. Did the Bengals play the Raiders this year? Anybody? Let me look. Oh, yeah. 32-13 beatdown in Las Vegas. That means they dealt with the distractions, overcame those, and still beat the Raiders. I love you, Derek Carr, but facing the Bengals, man, too much for them. You know that the Bengals have won 4 of the last 5 over the Raiders? Yeah, it's going to be a problem. Joe Burrow so clutch, all upstairs between the ears, mental attributes on 100. Derek Carr's going to have to overcome too much in this game. Bengals win. All right, staying in the AFC, we have rookie Mac Jones taking on Josh Allen in Buffalo. That's my brother from another. You better speak respect. Patriots or Bills?
Mac Jones, who Mac Jones?
I'm true.
Oh, now they go.
Okay.
I got to go with the Bills, man. This one's going to be easy. Josh Allen, too much at the quarterback position. Diggs, too much at the wide receiver position. And at the end of the day, it's not even so much the dogs and the horses that the Bills got. It's the lack of dogs and horses that the Patriots have. Mac Jones is a good rookie. Bill Belichick is a brilliant mind. But Bill Belichick can't play the game, and Mac Jones can only play the game so well as a rookie. Buffalo Bills.
I think this visual right here tells us who's going to win. The Bills, they got 2 players up there. They got a coach. He ain't playing. You know that, like, dog, they need some help over here. Respect to you, GOAT, coach. But it's going to be the Buffalo Bills. Look at Josh Allen this year. You know that he's the first player in NFL history go over 4,000 passing yards and over 750 rushing yards. Josh Allen at the quarterback position, the most talented quarterback in our game today. Justin Herbert, number 2. Big drop-off to number 3. Point being, I knew I had to distract you. I knew it. Most talented. Running, throwing, cannon. Yeah, everything.
So he's not getting the most out of his talent, but he is the most talented.
But you'll start that this week on the Super Bowl race to the top. Moving to the NFC, don't try to distract me again. Jalen Hurts and head coach Nick Sirianni, your guy, both making their playoff debuts against the defending champs. You giving your former squad, the Eagles, any chance? Say no.
Eagles played close early in the season. Am I giving them a chance? Absolutely. But at the end of the day, the Bucs aren't about to get knocked out first game. That's just not going to happen. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, they will handle business. But the Eagles are going to impress a lot of people. Eagles of Jalen Hurts is probably going to do enough to look good for a quarter and a half.
So by halftime, you still like, is the game still on? Anytime, if y'all haven't caught on yet, when they put a coach up here next to a player, that team ain't got a shot. It's going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Look at my notes. They so good. Oh, only 3 passing touchdowns in your last 5 starts. Come on, Jalen Hurts. Even worse, 0-6 versus playoff teams. That's not just a playoff team. Those are the Super Bowl champions. Eagles go down. Staying in the NFC, one of the matchups of the weekend, Red Hot 49ers taking on Dak Cowboys in Jerry's world. Acho, who you got? 49ers or them Cowboys?
Your hypothesis is broken, Sal. Because I done heard what you said.
Let's go!
I heard what you said about players and pitchers and coaches.
Oh, we got 3.
The Niners, man. It's
we got
easy
3.
money. See, look.
We got 3. And Mike Bailey in there. You know Mike Bailey in that thing. Sorry, Jimmy.
Give me the Niners. I don't even know that the game will be close in actuality.
What you mean?
The game will
It's
be
in Dallas.
close in
That's not
score.
close.
In score. I think at the end of the game, the Cowboys are going to keep the game close in score. It'll likely be a 4-point game because of a last 2-minute touchdown by Dak Prescott.
Yeah.
Niners going to win this one. I think the Niners do it handedly, big dog.
Oh, I know you knew to LA. What has it been, a year or so?
18 months.
18 months? Oh, look, you talking baby talk now? How old is the baby? 18 months? Is it 1 or 2, David? Here we go. Here's your problem. You just got to LA 18 months. We haven't hung out yet. So I seen you one time. Somebody sent me a pic. You on one of them TMZ bus tours or something, sightseeing LA. You need the proper tour guide. When you want to know LA, holla at your boy. When you want to win a Super Bowl, have the proper tour guide. A Super Bowl champion coach riding and driving the bus. He has not won one. Mike McCarthy has, and that's the number one offense right there. Cowboys win. Next up, Pittsburgh and the Chiefs. Uh-oh. Steelers are 12.5-point underdogs. You want to get past this pretty quick? According to Fox Bet Sportsbook, I chose giving the Steelers a chance. They got a chance. No coach.
Yes, they have a chance.
They do a brother like that.
No coach. They got a chance. Only reason I say they have a chance, obviously the Chiefs are my pick. Obviously the Chiefs will likely win. Only reason I say they have a chance, Ben Roethlisberger announcing that it's his last time playing.
Tell him.
We know what that means. Remember, Ray Lewis, when Ray Lewis said, yo, this is my last run, what happened? Ravens went on to win. 2005, Jerome Bettis, hey, this is my last run. What happened with the Steelers? Steelers went on to win. Whenever you have first ballot Hall of Famers, cough, Peyton Manning, Strahan, my last run. Strahan too?
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that one. When you have those first ballot Hall of Famers that are either long tenured with the team or just long tenured in the league, I don't know why, but teams do something for them. Steelers got a chance, but I would still bet Chiefs.
I love how you just try to cook that up because you really don't believe in the Chiefs. You talk about, oh, well, they could go win one for Big Ben.
You know what I said.
Okay, well, say it with your chest next time. Chiefs win. Call me a Chiefs hater you want. I'm not a hater. I'm a realist. They gonna smoke these dudes right here. I don't care what you try to go. Old homage to Ben Roethlisberger is not gonna be good enough. Unless this guy, TJ Watt, gets after the quarterback, Patrick Mahomes, 2 sacks and 2 takeaways. They're undefeated this year, 4-0. 8-0 when they win the turnover battle. Patrick Mahomes, I know you're great, but you gotta keep your fundamentals in mind. You get that ball away, y'all might come up short. Finally, the NFC West showdown here in La. Kyler Murray's Cardinals. Kyler Murray, as I say, taking on Matthew Stafford and the Rams. Who you got winning Monday night?
Rams, big dog. For a couple reasons. Number one, Kyler Murray's eyes are closed in this pick. If his eyes can't be open in a pick, I don't expect his eyes to be open on Sunday.
Picture me rolling.
Number two, Monday. Number two, Matthew Stafford, Sean McVay, they will get them at least one playoff win. They got to get them at least one. The Cardinals, I doubted them all season long. My homeboys play for the Cardinals. Zach Ertz, Jordan Hicks, they my dogs. I'm going to be at the game. I'm going to see him. What's up with you? I hope y'all.
Oh, you going to the game?
I'm going to the game. You know, I got to be out there. You know what I'm saying?
Hi.
But I like the Rams still.
Damn. All right, whatever. You're never going to take me anywhere, I guess. Looks like Sean McVay is looking for that playoff win, and Matthew Stafford just let it go right between his hands. Look at it, just dropped away. I got to go with the Rams. I'm not sitting here thinking that this team right now in the playoffs, as much as they've been up and down this year, is going to figure it out against the potent Los Angeles Rams. Even though they split the season series, Kyler Murray has struggled overall in totality against the Rams based on him and other opponents. Rams win that matchup. There you have it. Our wild card.
Oh, there it is.
Oh, there. But boy, that thing hopped up sideways. Weekend picks are set. You lose any money this weekend, holla at Acho. It ain't on me. Because it won't even take me to the damn game. Coming up, Mike Tomlin is currently the only black head coach in the NFL and didn't even make our big board. That's sad. We'll tell you the solution to get more in the league. That's next. Don't speak for yourself. David Culley was fired by the Texans yesterday after 1 season in Houston. This news followed Brian Flores being let go by the Dolphins earlier in the week. Coaching movement means Mike Tomlin is now the only black head coach in the NFL. So, Acho, what's the solution to getting more black head coaches in the NFL?
I think the first solution is always the first solution to fixing inequality. It is understanding that there is inequality. I always say denial, D-E-N-I-A-L, don't even know I am lying, right? You have to understand that there is an issue at hand, or you have to do a little bit of deeping and do a little bit of digging and figure out, is there an issue at hand? You and I, Marcella, have had some phenomenal conversations already today about, is there an issue, is there not an issue?
Yeah.
If and once you have established that there is an issue at hand, well, now I think you would have to some degree, bolster the Rooney Rule. Again, 2003 is when the Rooney Rule was initiated. The Rooney Rule was initiated because Tony Dungy was fired, although Tony Dungy had a winning record, and Dennis Green was fired, although Dennis Green had gone 10 seasons and only had one losing record. The Rooney Rule simply states that you have to interview a minority candidate when there is a head coaching vacancy. What the Rooney Rule then did was allow for Lovie Smith to be hired in 2004. Lovie Smith and Tony Dungy, two black head coaches for the first time in 42 years, meet in the Super Bowl. The Rooney Rule is a large reason why we saw the Super Bowl be played between two black head coaches in Tony Dungy and Lovie Smith. I think it needs bolstering. Why? Because as you brought up just 30 minutes ago, and I'm sure we will go here again, we've taken steps back. We've digressed. In that 2004 season, there were 4 black head coaches. Statistically, there was less than a 4% chance that 2 black head coaches would meet in the Super Bowl, but it still happened. Now we're faced with 1 black head coach, Mike Tomlin, out of 32 coaches. Clearly, there are still some vacancies in the National Football League. Even if we assume that Brian Flores gets hired by the Texans or Brian Flores gets hired by the Bears, that is 2 out of 32 coaches being black in the National Football League, or 1 out of 16. I believe that's somewhere around a 8 or so % chance. So I think we have to bolster, we have to amplify the Rooney Rule. And all that simply means is we have to encourage ownership and encourage management to at least look at the resumes of black head coaches in the same degree you look at the resumes of white head coaches. So that, to me, Sel, is kind of where I'm at with it all.
Okay, respect. We're going to go everywhere, so let's start here. What's the solution? To realize there is no solution, just trade-offs. Oh, my man, Thomas Sowell. Let's talk about it. Where is this equality that exists in this world? Because everyone is seeking it and everyone says it can occur. Everyone says it is real. Where? I dare anyone to tell me where there's true equality. Because anytime in this life you win, someone else is losing. Life is a game. Football is serious, is the placard I have in my home studio. And it gives me the greatest perspective because I always change the word football for what I am. I change it for life is a game, but parenting is serious. Marriage is serious. Broadcasting is serious. The things that take up my time and take up my energy and take up my desires. I don't think you need to change the Rooney Rule. Matter of fact, I don't even know if you need the Rooney Rule. Let me tell you why you might not need the Rooney Rule. One, it's not working. Let's just be real. Like data suggests that the Rooney Rule's not working. Why doesn't it work? This is where I like to go. Because you can't legislate desire. Arranged marriages try. Hello, anybody in this building still? You can't legislate desire. Archo, ain't a damn rule in this world. You're going to tell me that I gotta want something.
That's a bar. It's good.
You can't. So here's the thing. Why are you seeing the failure of the Rooney Rule? It's because what it stands on. It's not what it's trying to represent, just like equality. It's what it stands on. It's not what it's trying to represent. Equality says everybody gonna win. There was 1 tie in the NFL this year. We wish there were 2 because then the Chargers would have been in the playoffs. But the point is, there was 1 tie out of 263 games. Every other game, there's a winner and there's a loser. Hate to tell people in this world because it hurts when you're not the winner. But the consequence of winning for someone else is that they will lose in this world. On the football field, there's not equality. There are more black players than white players. And let's be real, it ain't just a black and white issue. On the sidelines, there are more white coaches than black coaches. Upstairs, there are more white owners, matter of fact, all white owners and no black owners. Point being, wherever you look, there's inequality. But for us to always project that that is the intended goal, to me, doesn't stand on the proper respects.
Love that. The part that I love was you can't legislate desire. I love that. There's some aspects I don't, which I'll talk here, but I love you can't legislate desire, and that's very real. At a minimum, when we look at the inequality in the NFL, then let's at least look at the inequality as it pertains to the monetary pipeline. Ownership. We know that the owners are billionaires.
Yes.
And we know that the players are $100,000 heirs, whatever the case may be for that, right? You have some millionaires, but for the most part, you got $100,000 is the majority of what players are making. That's the average.
Well, the average salary, but I hear what you're saying.
Yes.
They don't make it that long.
Correct. And again, this is if we were to talk median versus if we were to talk mean, all that jazz. With that being said, you can't legislate desire, but you can open up the aperture of somebody's mind to figure out what they're blind to.
Okay.
And I think that's what the NFL could do a better job of doing. Like, I can't necessarily legislate desire, but I can make you aware of something you were previously ignorant to. And I think that's what the NFL has to figure out how to do. You know this, I was in Nigeria last week burying my grandma, Big Dog. And when you're driving through the streets of Nigeria, people use their horn, the honking horn, like hello. Truly. Like, all you do is, it's not even rude. Like, in America, somebody honks at you, you ready to go ahead and tussle. Yeah. In Nigeria, somebody honks at you, it's basically like saying
like
hello.
New York City is.
But worse. New York City on steroids.
Damn.
With that being said, that honking symbol is simply making you aware of something you were ignorant to around you. And now that you are aware, you can alter your course of action. Because somebody honked and you're like, oh, I didn't even realize this car was coming. I'm now aware. Let me alter my course of action. What the NFL to me needs to do is make the owners more aware of things they're ignorant to. I may be slightly off because this is a statistic I have not used in about 5 or so months. But Jerry Jones has hired 32 coaches in his tenure of the Dallas Cowboys, 32 between head coach, defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. If I'm not mistaken, I believe 3 of those 32 positions have been filled by black people. I doubt Jerry Jones is even aware, Marcellus Wiley, that 3 of his 32 hires have been filled by black people as opposed to 29 being filled by white people. Because if he was aware of that glaring issue, he might do something to fix it. Because while you look in the Ring of Honor and you see Troy Aikman, you also see Emmitt Smith and Larry Allen and Michael Irvin. You also look in and see Darren Woodson. So it's not just the white players that have been great for the Cowboys, it's the black players that have been great for the Cowboys. So I would assume, like, white coaches have been great for the Cowboys, Jimmy Johnson, shout out, black coaches could be great for the Cowboys. You have to illuminate the minds of some of these owners, open up the aperture of their understanding, make them aware of some things they might be ignorant to. Also, make them aware of the fact that diversity breeds excellence. Look no further than Bruce Arians and what he did this year. He had the most diverse staff, not just black, but also by gender, employing a few women, employing a black offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, and special teams coach. And they won the Super Bowl. Obviously, it helps to have Tom Brady. It helps to have Rob Gronkowski. It helps to have Leonard Fournette. But diversity breeds excellence. For me, Marcellus Wiley, if you can just simply make people aware, then it will help encourage them to not necessarily change the legislation, but change the desire, Big Dog.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you're right. Look, exposure certainly is a part of this conversation. And it was a part of our upbringing that brought us to this place. Like my exposure, leaving the block.
Yes, sir.
You know, I lived on a street growing up, Rosecrans. And no lie, this is a crazy story. Growing up in Compton, Rosecrans like one of the main streets. I fast forward to I'm retired in the NFL. I'm retired. I'm mid-30s. And I buy this condo on the beach in Manhattan Beach. And then I'm riding to it, and I look, and I had to make a turn off of Rosecrans. I'm about to tear up right now. I had no idea that I grew up on the same boulevard that went all the way from Compton, and never in my life have I ever traveled all the way, probably 5 miles, 10 miles, to the border, to the beach, to Rosecrans. But here I am now living on the beach, on the Strand, off of Rosecrans, same place I grew up. Why do I bring that up? Because we just noticed 2 things, a change in my life, change in my surroundings, exposure, but more importantly, time is the change as well. There was a conversation about the black quarterback at one time that is looking a little different than it used to look, correct? And I want people to understand, just for perspective, this is not me trying to slam one side or the other, that there's always this quantity, quality question that you must answer. The 10,000 hours, as they say it. How many reps you get, and how many of y'all trying to get those reps to the point where all of a sudden it turns into a greater quality? When you want to map that onto this conversation, it looks like this. Bill Belichick been coaching since 1975. Pete Carroll been coaching since 1973. When we talk about where are all the black coaches, well, first of all, there's a lot of older coaches that are still not only coaching, but doing it at the highest level. So now you come to a conversation late, and I have this conversation a lot in racial topics about how late a start we got as black people. We know that in this country, correct? Let's not act like that still doesn't have an effect. And that effect doesn't necessarily come from direct racism. It comes, you are late to this conversation. But can we make up ground? Rooney Rule is trying to obviously incentivize and accelerate us catching up. But number of minority hires for open positions in the NFL doubled last year, 34%. Data shows that minority head coaches are hired a second time at a higher rate than white coaches. Data after data that shows that black coaches are being given a chance based on what pool, based on what quantity, and being real, which no one wants to have this conversation, based on what level of quality. You're racing against someone who's been at it for a longer period of time than you. We're catching up, but at what pace? I guess not at a pace that is going to be satisfactory to all.
That's good. Pete Carroll coaching since 73.
Come on, man.
Who else you say? Bill Belichick coaching since 75. I'm reminded that Bruce Arians was the first player at Virginia Tech to have a black roommate in 1975.
Oh, now you do that.
So Pete Carroll was coaching before Virginia Tech was even integrating. And so there's just a problem at hand. So now how do you fix the problem? Well, first you have to come up with those realities. Like I did the math because you just brought to me an incredible point. Pete Carroll been coaching since 73. Belichick coaching since 75. Holding both those things to be true, Bruce Arians was the first Virginia Tech player to have a black roommate in 75. So if black or coaches of color are behind the eight ball, the question is, so how do you catch them up? Or do you need to make the intent to catch them up? I personally believe you should go out of your way to try to catch up coaches of color. But the question, Sel, is if there was already a 20, 30-year coaching head start, how do you catch black coaches up unless there is some sort of incentivization to do so? Because you can't just say, okay, you're at a 30-year deficit, but just catch up by being 3 times as great. Some will, like Mike Tomlin, but even remember, Cass was saying Mike Tomlin should be fired after about 7 years. Former Steelers greats. So you have to do something to offset the discrepancy, don't you think?
I tell you what I think. It sounds so poetic, man. And I'm so glad that I woke up from that spell of poetry and just got to getting it. You can't catch up talking about it. Let's talk about it. Because I feel like I caught up. I'm trying to help. And I'm trying to help from my perspective of really starting pretty low, if not the bottom. I don't know. I don't know the measurements, but it was pretty low. And just knowing what it takes to get to wherever you want to go and achievement, it looks different. I know how you don't get there. Always directly calling it racism. Always saying it's racially insensitive. Always saying there's racial inequality. I know that's not how you're going to get there. You want to know why? Let me give it to you like this. Don't pull out the race card all the time. Don't pull out the race card when it's not necessary. Treat the race card like you treat a gun. Don't pull it out unless you're going to use it. And if you're going to use it, this ain't for casual purposes. This is for real stuff. So when you just look at these situations, where the black coaches at? Racism. That's not how you get there. Let's talk about how you get there. Because I think a lot of times in this world, we confuse racism with power. In this world, if you got power, you control everything. You got the shots, right? You call the shots. The grown own. That's called power. You know what that means to me? When you see black power, doesn't it look like the person that's running it? Death Row Records. Bad Boy. Rock Nation. You want to talk? When you get into a position of power, so you like what you like, and it's not necessarily about racism.
But the kicker there is, because you're exactly right? People confuse racism and power. I think that's 100% accurate. But I would also submit that racism has dictated power.
Oh, it has, but is it?
Still, yes, because Power doesn't change hands very often.
No?
We've only seen the Cleveland Browns. I was a part of an ownership change when the old Cleveland Browns owner changed to Jimmy Haslam.
Yeah.
I was on the Cleveland Browns in 2012. Jimmy Haslam is still the owner right now. He will be the owner for the foreseeable future. Somebody let me know, and it's not that pressing because y'all probably know at home, when Jerry Jones took over for the Cowboys. Late 1980s?
80s, yeah.
Maybe 84, 88? Yeah. Jerry Jones took over in late 80s. And power hasn't changed hands.
Yeah.
Power does not change hands very often.
Right.
So if racism has dictated power in the NFL,
Great point.
and power doesn't change hands very often, Jerry Jones taking over in 1989, if racism dictates power and power doesn't change hands often, then power is still dictated by racism, and the power is what's dictating the National Football League.
Well, vicious cycle continues. We said that in the A block. I think you brought that back home right now. The fact that you have the established power right now doesn't mean that you're going to keep that power by using any of the tools of racism. Maybe you got that because you had more money just in the 80s than black people had, or whoever wanted to have a black ownership group. What we're witnessing right now is this. We're saying that there's a problem, and what do you do to fix the problem? But the real answer is so simple, but it's so difficult. You got to own it. Now, in football, who is giving up that power? Who is giving up that position? Let's just flip it. In a position where you have black power, are they giving that up? Why would you? Why would you say then, if you don't get the equality that is never going to come, that there's racism or inequality in that? The power dictates the terms. And in this situation, on the field, what's the most powerful? Black players. On the sidelines, what's the most powerful? White coaches. Upstairs, it's white management. I just think there's a racism that is distant. There's a power that is present. And then there's a likeness that basically, Acho, look at us right now. Power, racism, likeness. We the same. And even though we both are different. Coming up, Kyler Murray, Derek Carr, and Joe Burrow are making their playoff debuts. Damn, we don't own Fox, though. We'll tell you who will star or stumble. That's next. Murdoch, hook us up on Speak For Yourself. The show. Super Wild Card Weekend will feature 5 quarterbacks making their playoff debuts. Take a look right here. Derek Carr, Joe Burrow, Jalen Hurts, Mac Jones, and Kyler Murray have all helped lead their teams to the postseason this year. But now we have to ask the question, who will star or stumble? I see you, Acho. Let's start with Derek Carr, whose Raiders face the Bengals tomorrow. Carr's a 3-time Pro Bowler, but he's never started a playoff game. So, Acho, will he star or stumble?
Derek Carr is going to star. I've said it before. I will say it again. Everybody be on the lookout. Everything this man has overcome this year, that leads me to believe he will star in the biggest game of his career. Furthermore, Derek Carr, 3 times he's been a Pro Bowler. 1 time he's gotten an MVP vote. The likes of those guys that are currently playing, you're talking Aaron Rodgers, you're talking Tom Brady, etc. Derek Carr is ready for this moment. He's going to star.
Yeah, I agree with you. He's going to star. He's going to star because you saw something down the stretch run against my Los Angeles Chargers. 4-0 in his last 4 games to get him in that position, to get him into the playoffs. That's a clutch gene right there. And I think that Derek Carr will star. However, I don't think his team will star, but he will star in the moment. Moving on to the other quarterback in tomorrow's matchup, Joe Burrow is an MVP candidate. Oh, look at it. Went dark in just his 2nd season. So, Joe, will Burrow star or stumble?
It just went dark because Burrow's going to be lights out.
Oh, look at you.
Joe Burrow, he going to star. We already know what Joe Burrow can do. Joe Burrow in his must-win, gotta-have-it games.
Let's hear it,
both
Daddy.
in college, when he had to play in the national championship and the SEC championship and play Oklahoma in the playoff game, and these last 2 must-win games for this season. Joe Burrow's averaging 444 yards in those games, 27 touchdowns, no interceptions. If I can guarantee you one thing, Burrow gonna star as well.
Yeah, Burrow's going to star. Burrow is a star. Everyone knew it. Now everyone is seeing it. Joe Burrow, with his mental attributes, whatever's going on between them ears, only second to Tom Brady in terms of activating others around him. Joe Burrow and his confidence, if not cockiness, if not his swag level, whatever it is contagious. Joe Burrow's going to go out there and put up numbers. Joe Burrow is and will star. Staying in the AFC, Mac Jones. Patriots are in Buffalo tomorrow. Jones helped New England get back to the playoffs in his rookie season. So, Acho, will Jones start or stumble?
He gonna stumble and he gonna be humbled. We already know this much. Mac Jones' biggest game now of his career. Mac Jones against the Bills. The one game that they did win against the Bills, he wasn't asked to do much at all. He threw the ball 3 times, 2 completions. Then when he played the Bills and was asked to do a lot, he struggled. Mac Jones is going to be asked to do a lot this game against the Bills. Bills are coming out red hot. I believe Mac Jones will stumble.
Yeah, I think he's going to stumble. He's not a star, huh? Somebody got the chopper in the car. Huh? Oh, I'm sorry, Mac Jones. You're not going to star this week. You know why? You're a rookie. It's okay. We saw you hit that rookie wall. 1-3 in his last 4 starts. I was talking about Derek Carr. That championship gene, that clutch gene starts to activate when you're a rookie, man. Sometimes you just fatigue in this moment. I think that Bill Belichick's going to do all he can to coach up Mac Jones, but I don't think he's going to star in this moment. I think he's going to stumble and fumble and fumble. Over in the NFC, let's get it going with Jalen Hurts, who's leading the Eagles into Tampa Sunday on Fox. Philly is in the playoffs in his first season as their full-time starter. Acho, will Hurts star or stumble?
Sal, this one hurts my heart. He's going to do a little bit of both. I literally think he's going to stumble because he's going to have to try to be a star on the run. And he gonna stumble and fumble. With that being said, Jalen Hurts, he gonna stumble in this one, big dog. Going against a Bucs defense, top 10. They're gonna be licking their chops going up against a rookie that really only has one dependable receiver in Smith because Jalen Reagor ain't made no noise. So I think Jalen Hurts will try very hard, but he will stumble.
I think he's gonna star. Wow, you're an Eagles fan. You're a former Eagle. You're not a believer. I'm a believer in Jalen Hurts. Why? Is his legs okay? Can he still run the ball? They still going to go out there with more RPOs? Yes, they are. I don't think the Eagles are going to win, but I think that Jalen Hurts, because of the fact that they're a ground-based attack, is going to be able to run the football in the playoffs.
Define star when you're talking about Jalen Hurts, because I can see 2 touchdowns, 1 pick, 180 passing yards, 60 rushing yards, 240 total. Give me your qualification for Jalen Hurts starring in this game.
Ultimately, is keeping this competitive to mid-late 4th quarter. Remember, they're going against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who kept it close against Washington last year in the playoffs. Tampa Bay, Green Bay was a close game as well for a long stretch of time. You look at Tampa Bay, they had some close games in the playoffs last year. This year, even though they brought the same team back, still a little mash unit and compromised at some critical positions. We'll see how they perform healthy now, but they could still get into a close contest. Staying in the NFC, Kyler Murray's Cardinals on the road Monday night against the Rams. Arizona had their best regular season since he's been their quarterback. Acho, will Kyler star or stumble?
This one will shock a lot of people. Kyler Murray's going to stumble, and it ain't going to shock me. It might not shock you, Sal, but I think it'll shock the world. Murray was in the MVP front-running position through 7 and 8 weeks of the season, but then the latter half of the season, he's been struggling without DeAndre Hopkins. I just don't see that Kyler Murray in his playoff debut goes out against a hungry, angry, and talented Rams defense. Aaron Donald, Von Miller, Jalen Ramsey, and stars. I don't see that happening. He's stumbling.
Yeah, I think he's going to stumble as well. And if he stumbles with those quick little feet, they're going to be moving like this on the ground. You ever see somebody like a little rope? He's going to stumble. Started off 7-0, 2-5 in his last 7 starts. That's not good. And he always struggles against the Rams in totality. You got to look at him against this team right now. Rams, potent attack, Sean McVay, and you get to see him for a 3rd time, even though they split the season series. I don't think he's going to shine or star. Yep, I think he's going to stumble. Coming up, speaking of stars, one is talking. It's been a few years since the Cowboys have won a playoff game. Tell you what they have to do to beat the 49ers on Sunday. That's next. Don't Cowboys host the 49ers in Sunday's wild card game, and a lot of attention will be on Dak Prescott. Dak was asked about the pressure on his shoulders and said, quote, I think it creates high expectations and high standards, and it usually creates high results. High to me. So, Acho, what do the Cowboys need to do to win?
I can tell y'all who will win this game after watching one possession.
You need one possession? You know Vegas won't give you that. You know you got to place your bet. Place your bet before the game.
All it will take is one possession to tell you who will win this game.
Well, let me hear this possession.
The team that scores first will win this game. Here's why I say that. Cowboys are 9-0 on the season when they score first.
Okay.
All 5 of the Cowboys' losses occurred when the opposing team scored first. So the Cowboys are undefeated when they score first. And every time they lose, the opposing team scored first. You don't have to watch all 48 and 60 minutes. You ain't got to watch it all, particularly because it's not on Fox. So all you got to do is watch the first possession of the game. If the San Francisco 49ers get the ball and they score, the San Francisco 49ers will win. The Cowboys have lost all 5 of their games when they did not score first. If the Cowboys get the ball and they go down this field and score, the Cowboys, I can guarantee you, will win since they are 9-0 when they score first. Now, that's the information. The question is, why? You know the answer. I will verbalize the answer. If the Cowboys go down the field and score first, this amazing game plan that the Niners have, hey, run the ball, play keep away, don't let Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper get going, well, the San Francisco 49ers will lose that game plan if the Cowboys score first. Right. Because now they're playing catch-up. Now Kyle Shanahan will start to freak out a little bit. Uh-oh, they're up 7-0 on us. It's 10-0, 17-0. All right, panic. Yeah, I understand the Niners came back from down 17-0 against the Rams last week. If you've watched the Niners over the course of years, you understand that is not their MO. They are not built to come from behind more often than not. So, Sel, what do the Cowboys need to win? It is very, very simple. Score first.
Let me rip off. Thought I had a take up here. What the hell you talking about? I disagree. And I'm going to tell you why I disagree. Because I think what you have done is extracted a coincidence and made it a fact. Yesterday, I was driving home. No, I was leaving home, actually. Yeah, I don't know what acre I was on. But here's the go. I was driving, and I saw a black cat go by. Now, in my head, I was like, oh, this is going to be a bad day. Then I was like, man, whoever said that just had a coincidence occur. They had a bad day, and they saw a black cat. Okay. My kids, of late, we've had some work done around the house, and we've seen ladders. And the kids don't know what a ladder is. They don't even know. They say, Daddy, I want to go up there. I was like, no, you're not going to climb on the ladder. So then they explore the ladder, and they like to walk under it. Now, my wife's like, don't walk under the ladder. And I'm like, go ahead. Because you know what? I've never had the coincidence of having a bad experience or a bad day because I walked under the ladder. You just went out there and said they're 7-0 when they score first. 9-0. 9-0 when they score first, yeah. And when they don't, oh, my God.
4-5.
But what is their record when they run the football? Over 100-plus yards. Undefeated. Oh, so there's a coincidence that they run for 100-plus yards and they score first. Acho, you think the game plan is if you score first, it's because we ran the football and that's all it is? Or there's something else to this conversation? Now let me bring it to you, what that something else is. That was strong, but come on, man. If we down 7-0, the other team's going to abandon their game plan or we're going to have to abandon ours. Then you know football ain't played like that. Maybe at 14 we start talking about it, but we never abandoned at 7-0. The Cowboys, to win this game, simply have to stick to the script. The hardest thing to do in this world is stay disciplined. The hardest thing in this world to do, let me hit you with the Acho doubleism, is to stay disciplined. Everybody in this world knows what it takes to make it. Everybody knows. Come on, dog. How many times we played with somebody, growing up with somebody? Work hard, get your rest, study, stay out them streets. You're going to make something of yourself, right? But what's the problem? Most people can't stay disciplined. Cowboys, stick to the script. Score, run the football, take the ball away. That's it. Those simple attributes will lead to your success. If not, get out of yourself and start thinking, oh, my God, we got scored on and we're going to lose the game. But I don't think it's that kind of bad luck. Coming up, it's round 3 for the Bills and the Patriots to tell you who needs a win more tomorrow. Bill Belichick or Josh Allen? That's next on Speak for Yourself.
Josh Allen threw 3 touchdown passes in the Bills' last matchup against the Patriots. Now it's on to round 3 in tomorrow's wild card round. Bill Belichick was asked about his approach for a third game and said, quote, it's a new game. We're starting from scratch. So, Sel, who needs a win more? Josh Allen, quarterback for the Bills, or Bill Belichick?
Josh Allen, obviously. This is what Sean McVay was talking about when he says a resume is established. Bill Belichick's resume is established. He's the GOAT of all coaches. But Josh Allen, we still got the pencil out, still writing it down. Who is the real Josh Allen? So, because of that reason, we need to see more out of you, Josh Allen. Last year, AFC Championship game. This year, a lot of people would say, did he plateau or did he regress this year? But no one is saying he improved this year, even though first player in NFL history, 4,000-plus passing yards, 750 plus rushing yards. That's amazing. But still, there's conversation about Josh Allen. Who is he? And because of that reason, we can't find out that you just lose to a rookie in the playoffs in a one-and-done scenario. So no way. Josh Allen needs to go out there, look at Bill Belichick, know that Bill Belichick's going to come with some wild card defenses. He's going to throw some things at you this weekend. But you can't lose to the rookie, therefore, Josh Allen. Pressure's on you.
I like that take. I'm not mad at that take. Bill Belichick, my answer, because he's a prisoner of his own success. Josh Allen, if he goes out there and loses, not really all that surprised. He won one, he lost one, he's won some, he's lost some, it's all good. Bill Belichick, however, 17 of his 18 years with Tom Brady, he made it to the playoffs. Well, now he didn't make it to the playoffs the first year without Tom Brady, and if he doesn't win a playoff game the second year without Tom Brady, we're now looking at Bill Belichick like, wait a second. It's now 2 years without Brady, and you ain't won a playoff game. Meanwhile, Brady's been the Super Bowl champ, and he's been the 2 seed over in the NFC. So I think Bill Belichick has to win this weekend because we will continue to look at Bill Belichick with the side eye. No longer as a question because you got to the playoffs. But, Sal, if we just look at Bill Belichick's trajectory without Tom Brady, year 1, no playoffs. Year 2, playoffs, and you lose. So what? Year 3, playoffs, and you win. Year 4, playoffs, and you win 2 games. Year 5, playoffs, and you win 3 games. So now 6 years removed from Tom Brady, and you win a Super Bowl based on that trajectory. Meanwhile, Brady leaves you in year 1, he wins the Super Bowl. I think Bill Belichick has to go ahead and win to show once again, okay, y'all, without Tom Brady, I am solid.
You an Outkast fan? Not really, huh? Anytime somebody answers with one song, that's like saying,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah, this is my black friend. Like this is the one song I know. What the hell you talking about? You ain't no Outkast fan. Me, all to the core, to the heart. Are you an Outkast? Yes, I am. Okay. Outkast went diamond together. Broken up, Andre hasn't dropped the album, just a bunch of singles here and there and collabs. And Big Boy's still doing his thing, but it's not to the same level, obviously, because Outkast was Outkast.
Yes, sir.
Do you look down at Big Boy? Do you look down at Andre? Oh, but you say Andre dropped the class. Tom Brady went out there and won one. Oh, he dropped a fire song with Kanye. Okay, that's great for him. But that doesn't mean that he should be looked down on, or more importantly, his counterpart that gave him that diamond album with Outkast, Big Boy, should be looked down upon. Why do we always do this? The divorce is bad enough on the family. Now we got to say who won a divorce when we both have lost, because look at the kids. I'm not respecting your take right there because you keep trying to take these subtle shots at my man Bill Belichick. Are you an Outkast?
I'm not even really taking the shot, Sal.
Yes,
it's just that Bill Belichick is going to take out the paint, and he is going to draw the circle on himself as the target. As soon as you got rid of Tom Brady, that was taking out the paint. Then as soon as you didn't make the playoffs, that was go ahead and drawing the red circle. And then if you lose a playoff game, that is putting the dot in the middle of the circle, big dog. I don't have to do it to Bill Belichick. He has done it to himself. If you fracture a relationship with one of the greatest ever, getting good. If you fracture a relationship with one of the greatest ever, you did it to yourself, man.
Yeah, you better stay with me then, because they ain't going to say that about you. If you ever leave me, don't leave. Moving to the NFC Sunday, don't miss your chance to win $100,000 on the Fox Bet Super 6 app. Scan the QR code and enter your picks in the wild card contest featuring Eagles Bucks for your chance to win. One of the questions is, which team will win and by how many points? Joe, what do you think?
Gonna be a close one, but Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 4 points.
What's going to be close? Eagles and Bucks? Bucks by 17. Fox Bet Super 6 and Terry Bradshaw have given away almost $500,000 in cash prizes last 3 weeks alone. And there's plenty more where that came from. Back up, camera. Scan the QR code, download the app, enter your picks in the wild card contest for your chance to win. It's free to play. Coming up, Tom Brady. Andre 3000, as I say, has a long list of playoff moments, but Jalen Hurts did not get the memo. Tell you if he's keeping it 100 or 99. That's next on Speak for Your Soul. On this show, we only know how to keep it 100, but others, y'all keep it 99. Each day, we're going to get to the bottom of who's really telling the truth. Case in point, Jalen Hurts is facing the Bucs Sunday on Fox, and he was asked about Tom Brady's Hall of Fame level resume. Listen.
If I have my math right, you were 3 years old the first time Tom Brady played in a playoff game. I'm guessing you don't remember that one, but curious what the earliest sort of Brady game or moment is in your memory bank.
I don't remember.
Joe, is Jalen Hurts keeping it 100 or 99?
Big dog, keeping it 95.
What you mean 95? Yes or no? Does he remember? Or
He doesn't remember the exact specific, right? Like, I don't remember my first time I saw Tom Brady play. I have memories of Brady winning a Super Bowl with Vrabel and Brady winning a Super Bowl with McGinnis, but I can't take you back. I have memories of Charles Woodson, Oakland, Tom Brady, the fumble. I have memories, but I can't take you back to a specific.
You ain't got to take me to the first one, but take me to one of them. I don't remember. Oh, you're going to remember this weekend because Tom Brady about to give you another one. Take that, Jalen Hurts. Remember this. Boy, don't play that gamesmanship with Tom Brady with the GOAT. They don't come back to haunt you. Now, Acho, when's the first time you met me? You remember that?
Unfortunately.
You ain't right, bro. Have a great weekend. Fox Bet Live is next. Be nice, man.